My birthday is May the 10th, 1956. I was born in Canada to Danish parents. Ice cream. I was in the hospital getting my tonsils out and they gave me ice cream. Honestly, I think I was 4 years old. I don't think I remember anything before that. Oh my goodness, okay, there were two, and they were both presents. Very materialistic, okay. An easy bake oven. Santa left it for me, you know. I got up, I think I was like, maybe 5 or 6. I was really young. And I got up really early, like in the middle of the night, and my parents said, no, go back to bed, it's too early. But I knew that Santa had already been there, so I sat there and I waited until they got up for hours because I was so excited, and I got an easy bake oven that year. It was just thrilling. I know that when I was very young, I had like 6 months old. I had to go into the hospital because I was dying, and they saved me. But my mother went into the hospital at the same time because she burned her hands. So she couldn't visit me, and I had to be weaned off the breast. And then my sister died relatively soon after that. So it was just a really bad first year for me. And I think it affected my psyche a lot. It's not that I remember it, but I feel the repercussions come up sometimes. My elementary school was in Canada, and my middle school was in northern Canada, and then my high school was like on 4 or 5 different continents. We just started traveling. But part of the first move to northern Canada was something that I really enjoyed living in northern Canada. We lived near the reservations, and it was awesome. I feel so totally connected to the Indigenous people because of that time there. I spent like 3 or 4 or 5 years there. And like anything that's Indigenous, like my hair was braided, it's just, I feel very connected to that culture. I did until I was 13, and then I went off to boarding schools, and then I left home when I was 16. I left my parents' place. I just left, and I had some problems, and they invited me back, so I tried it for another year, but it just didn't work. So during my young years, yes, but my teenage years, no. Dad was in the oil business, so he traveled a lot, especially starting like when I was 10 years old. That's when we moved to northern Canada, and then he went to Libya, and then he went to a few places, Indonesia, the Bahamas. So if I wasn't with them, I was in boarding school. So I got to travel a lot. Middle class. You know, he was making really good money, but I mean, he worked really hard for it. It wasn't like we had luxury upon luxury, but you know, it was nice. I have an older brother, and he's 7 years older. His name is Brent. My sister's name is Judy, Judy Ann. Yeah. And my sister was 6 years older, but I would think I was 13 months old when she passed. And my mom said that she was like a second mom to me. With my brother thinking that possibly it was his fault, he abandoned me. My sister abandoned me. My mom was in grief. She abandoned me. My dad took a second job and he abandoned me. I'm thinking this is how I felt. I don't know, nobody abandoned a baby, but from a solid family life at that young age to nobody there for me, you know, I think, I'm gonna cry. I thought, what did I do? I remember when I was little, we had some pets. They were little Boston Terriers, and I fell so in love with them. I've always been like an animal person, always. And then with all the traveling, my parents didn't get a pet until I was maybe 16. And it was my pet, but I didn't get to keep it because of the traveling and the boarding school and such. But he was my little black poodle. Along with the pets thing, I had a to-do list. And on my to-do list was go visit the animals, go visit the dogs in the neighborhood. I'd go and like just pet the dogs. They were outside. I'd make friends with them. So it was like, it's always been a thing. And also dancing. I remember when I was just little watching the actor, the host of something like, you know, a real young kids thing. And I was doing the twist in front of the TV and like, I'm going to be a go-go girl when I grow up. Either a go-go girl or a veterinarian. Those two things just, I loved to dance. And I loved animals. I went to grade 8, starting in Libya. And then I went to Switzerland boarding school. Then I went to family in Denmark for another year. And after that, half a year back in Canada. And then the last half of that year in the Bahamas, Freeport High. And I studied everything because every school I went to was a different country, and I had to go back to freshman studies. So nothing congealed, and it was, at that point, I thought a waste of time that I was going to school, so I left school at that point. I was in the Bahamas, and that was grade 11, because nothing was stacking up so that I could ever graduate. When I was in Denmark, I had a huge friendship with a girl that lived down the street from me, and we both went to the same school. And it's one of those things where she was my sister and we did everything together. You know, it was just, we went shopping together, we went to school together, we talked about boys together. It was just a magical time and a magical friendship. And she lives in Hawaii now. She's lived there for a long time. No. I started to turn to drugs because, especially Denmark, it was like pretty legal. And I think there's enough addiction in my family that it just enabled me. And I went on a ride for many years with that addiction on several levels. So I've been clean and sober now came into the program 36 years ago and with one relapse. So yeah, but it's like a whole different life now from that and now. I remember giving my dad drinks, really strong drinks, and then he would always ask me to make his drinks for him. So I knew that this was something that was like really special. So and then being in school in Denmark, we're smoking hashish and the availability of mescaline and acid, and I came really naturally to it. I went right for it. I just was born to it. And, thank God I caught it before I died, because it's a serious illness and I was full-fledged. Well, when I was in Libya, that was a lot of fun. I loved the beach, and was I a lifeguard there, or maybe I just taught swimming. And I had my little dog, and I taught him a lot of tricks. I was a cheerleader for the year that I was in Switzerland, and I wanted to play sports, but cheerleading was more fun. We got to travel with the boys, so I chose cheerleading. So that came with really, really good Italian cooks. All our food was Italian, and oh my goodness, they called the girls that went there Tassus girls, because we all chunked up. I mean, the food was so good. It was so good. Oh, I think the first crush was actually before I left Canada. I was in northern Canada, and I was figure skating, so that I could be close to boys who were playing hockey, of course. And he had this beautiful skin. It was brown, and we just kissed, but it was I just thought he was so cute. I was probably 11 or 12. The problems didn't start until just the end of our time in northern Canada, and I'm not sure what was going on with my mother. She was having some medical problems and thyroid issues. And my dad had gone off to Libya for, I don't know, months before we joined him there. And it got bad, and it got worse, and it got worse. And she doesn't remember some of this. Well, she's passed now, but she doesn't remember some of the things that really affected me. And I know she had medical conditions, but when I was in the throes of growing up as a teenager, I felt abandoned again, because my mom wasn't she wasn't my mom anymore, and my dad was physically gone. Because even when we moved to Libya, he worked out in the desert and only came home for weekends, on top of the fact that I started going to boarding school. So yeah, no wonder I kind of turned to drugs, because I didn't have that solid foundation that maybe I wanted. And I'm not saying that they did wrong. They were doing the best they could. I understand it completely. Let's give our daughter this. And I don't think they had any idea how things had changed and how alone I was. I just don't think that their generation and where I was I hurt. I really hurt. But I don't blame them. You can't foresee things, and these are things that were just part of my life. My mom came to Denmark, and I remember she wanted me to go on the birth control pill. And it's I was still a virgin, and I was Mom, I don't even have a boyfriend. I'm aware that I would need it but and we weren't communicating. It was, she thought I was on drugs, which I was, but I didn't have parents that were what I needed, and I didn't know how to ask for it. I was really good at learning languages. Like when I would go somewhere, I'd pick up languages really quickly. And I had conversational speech in several languages. So I was really proud of that. I knew that I wasn't brain damaged or, ill-equipped mentally. But the drugs would have said otherwise, my results. I wasn't getting good grades. I wanted a home, actually, and I remember asking my parents for a down payment on a home. Like I said, keep all of my Christmas money, keep all of my birthday money, keep all of every gift, and save it up so that I can get a down payment on a home. That didn't turn out so well. I don't know, that's what I wanted. Maybe when I went to Denmark, I really felt a connection to, because I have so much family in Denmark, and I wanted that. And I wanted a family life, so maybe the home just represented that to me. I'm not sure, but I do remember that's the thing that I had asked for. And a dog, which I finally got, that little black poodle. When we were in Libya, like little, I don't know, adobe huts. When I went to Switzerland, it was on a campus with very similar to other campuses. And when I went to Denmark, I stayed with relatives. And then in the Bahamas, we had like a condo type situation. When I left the Bahamas, I left with another girl that I had actually known from northern Canada, like the oil business people had. So we left together and we hitchhiked across the States, landed up in Los Angeles for a little while, and then I was put in juvenile hall, transported to Canada, and then I hitchhiked all the way across Canada. All the way across Canada, and then the winter set in. So I kind of settled down in Montreal for a year. I turned 17. I turned 17 in Montreal, and then I went back, as I said earlier, to try another attempt with my parents, who then moved back to Canada, and I tried to do college. And that didn't last very long because my mother had another episode, and it was frightening. So I left, and that took a minute before I adjusted, and I got into dancing at that time. Because I'd always loved dancing, I saw a job in you look in the newspaper, and somebody said to me, "Mickey, here's a job as a dancer at noon at this place." And I says, "Yeah, but you know what kind of dancing that is." And of course, that's what kind of a dancer I did. And then I had a whole career as a dancer, which took me everywhere I wanted to go. A burlesque dancer. I don't think we were ever close because he didn't want to after my sister died. He thinks he was responsible, and I don't remember ever having close memories with him. And then we left him when we went to northern Canada. We left him where he was so he could finish high school. So after I was 10 years old, there was no, I would see him once in a while. So it's more like a cousin than a brother. So, and actually, since my mom's passing, we have no words between each other. It was my mom's dying wish that we communicate, but I've tried several times, and I'm just not going to keep hurting myself over a family that doesn't want to reciprocate. That's okay. You know, I've got other friends. I had quite an addiction to men for a long time. If they asked me to marry them, I said yes. So I have quite a messy history with marriages. But the last one that I married, we got clean and sober together, and we were on Guam. And I never divorced him, so we're still married, but he could not stay clean and sober and suffered a stroke several years after we separated. So he doesn't even know who I am anymore. But I made a promise to myself, because another addiction is like, I am going to make myself better before I make a unit, because it was like, I'm not well. I need to be well before I get into a relationship, or the relationship is not going to be based on anything good. So I stopped saying yes. I think about 5, I was drinking and drugging a lot. And I, to this day, have not sorted it all out. I was a dancer, and I took my clothes off, and I liked sex. So, I mean, it's not surprising that men asked me that. It was like they didn't know how damaged, what was going on, and they just saw the outside. I got so into drugs and alcohol that I wanted to die. On a daily basis, I wanted to die. I tried to kill myself on almost a daily basis. It was bad. It was really bad. So, I mean, I went down that rabbit hole. I don't know how I survived, but I'm coming up on 29 years off of alcohol, and like 36 years off of drugs. So, you know, but I had an eating disorder. For 30 years, I was a bulimic. So talk about a multi-addiction. You know, I was messed up, and I don't remember a lot because I was so screwed up. But I'm a survivor. I clawed my way out and have some education. I have a child. I have a career. My life is so different. It's like 2 different lives, really. When I was drinking, I was trying to fill something. When I was eating, when I was having sex, I was trying to fill something that was bottomless. I couldn't drink enough. I couldn't have sex enough. I couldn't. It was always like, there's still this void. Okay, I found the 12-step program and spirituality, and that's what I fill that void with now, most of the time. I'm not a psychiatrist, and you know, I've seen people along the way, and I haven't figured that out, but I've figured out how to stay away from the stuff that makes me nuts. I've had a lot of experience now. I'm coming up on, like, I think 16 years off of bulimia. And I mean, the food still calls to me, especially pandemic, you know, but I was throwing up 3 times a day. I was drinking 2/5 of gin a day just to get started. I was having sex 3 times a day. You know, I was so, I don't know how I survived. And I had moved back to Guam because drugs were legal there. The heroin, I mean, the police would give it to you. And the sex market was open, and like, nobody was stopping me from doing anything. Had I not gotten married to a rescuer, that I wouldn't have lasted much longer. I was 30-ish, getting to be 30. I had 1 month sober when I turned 30, so. There was only drinking buddies, only sex partners, only people that were doing what I was doing. There were no good friends. There were, people would come and go, and I traveled you know, I went here and there and whenever I wanted to. And it was like, I had me. Some years. When I got clean and sober, I had 5 years, and then I had a relapse. And then I got sober again. I was already clean. And 3 years into that sobriety, I had Dig. Yeah, so he's 25 now. You know what? I didn't have experience like with sisters and other people that were around me having babies, so I didn't know what it was going to be like. And I had a boy, which was really scary. I was like, how am I going to raise a boy? Because I was kind of like a girly girl, kind of. But for the first 9 months, I cried every day because I couldn't believe I had something so precious. I thought for sure somebody would come and take it away from me. I did stop dancing and sexual activity. I stopped that one. And I pretty much stopped dating because the people I was meeting they were either interested in me or in him, and I didn't want that. Either you want us both, or you're not getting us. Like a man who wanted to have a son, and I was like, oh, look at that nice looking boy. Yeah, you're okay, but they wanted to be a dad, and it's like, no, you have to go for us both. Have to want to be both, and I didn't find that, and I had wanted to have another kid, but by the time Dave was about 4, it was like, okay, I'm just going to be his single parent. That's it. Across my sobriety, when I first got sober and my husband and I moved here, there was somebody in the Adult Children of Alcoholics, ACOA, and she was an Indigenous woman. So I felt that connect right away, and we started dealing on issues that were really, really important for me to deal with. So she was important, and I can't find her because when I had my relapse and I was out for a year and I moved, I just lost, and I haven't been able to find her again. So she was like, she came into my life and helped me and went on to help other people. I don't know. Other than that, my son, we have a really strong bond. And my mom and I, especially after my relapse and I got clean and then I had my son, she became a part of our lives again, which was really, really healing. I started volunteering with animals, and then I got my GED and started working at an animal hospital grooming. And then I went on and I got my associate's degree, first in French and then another one in animal science. And then I still wanted to learn, so I went and got 2 bachelor's degrees, one in French and one in TV and film. So I got that last one because my son was already like into TV and film, and I thought, might as well. I moved here in '86, and my son and I did a semester abroad in France because we were both studying French. He was in an immersion school, and I was getting my bachelor's in French. So we did that, and then I was going to do a film in the Emeritus. What's it called? The Arab Emeritus. Anyway, they have money, right? And he just anyway. At that point in time, Daig and he said I could bring my son, and we could stay a week and like whatever. I was like, okay. So I had to fly to Canada because my passport had expired. So we had gone to Canada several times. And then we flew to Germany, and right at that time, Canada had done something and they weren't allowing Canadians in. So we were stranded in the German airport for like a day and a half, and then we finally just came back because I couldn't get in. My son couldn't, but they wanted to hire me for the film. So, okay, and I think that's it. I don't think my traveling kind of abruptly stopped, other than just trips up to see my mom. And then when she went into a nursing home, those trips kind of like trickled off too. I love Denmark, however, a little bit chilly for me. I loved France, especially like the Côte d'Azur, like right on the bottom of France. I love the French food. I love speaking French. It's so much fun. And I spent like a good half a year dancing there. So I have a thing for France. It didn't happen until I turned 60. And that was 5 years ago. I'm almost 65. Yeah, I mean, you got to think, I didn't finish my drinking career like, with that relapse until I was 35 or 36. So I had to start growing up. I had left growing up when I was maybe 13. I was a daily user by the time I was 15. So I stopped growing up in my early teens. So when I was 36, I had to start growing up again. So it didn't hit me until I was 60 that, hey, you're getting kind of old. It's the only birthday that I cried. And every other birthday I've been fine with. My mom died that year. My son had had a brain injury a few years before that. I was in a depression for several years, a really bad one. And I didn't use drugs. I tried pharmaceuticals. They didn't work. It was just part of the healing with extra trauma on top. So 60 was hard. All of my family is from Denmark, except my mom was born in Canada. Everybody else was born in Denmark. As far as like ancestry.com, everybody I know, it's like there may be other people in there. Oh, and you were asking me about possible Native Americans. When I did research into Vikings, the Vikings came to like Canada, and they took some women back with them to their respective countries. And because of my look, I'm thinking I do have some Native Canadian in me. And my son has it too. It's like all the Danes don't have this bone structure. So I don't know where it came from, but I'm thinking that's a lineage that just I was lucky enough to grab hold of. She was a Froslev. In Denmark, there's 3 extra letters in the alphabet. And my dad's family and my mom's family, in their last name, they both had one of those letters. So my mother's name was Froslev. My dad's name was Ferk. So the A and the E joined together, or the O with the slash through it. That was originally, but with the American and Canadian typewriters, they had to change their names. But I would go back to, but I didn't. If I get a Danish passport, I will. I'll go back to the original spelling. My mom was born in 1929. He's a Ferk, and he was born in Aalborg in Denmark. And my mom's dad was born in Odense, and I actually made a trip to Denmark with my mom's dad. And we visited all his sisters and people before he passed. I was about 24. Especially before we moved to northern Canada, when my father's parents were still alive, they didn't speak English well. They spoke Danglish, like Danish English. It was like, so I learned a lot of Danish, the sound of Danish and words, kind of English mangled. But they didn't teach me Danish because they didn't want to be known as boat people. It was a thing back then, and so I didn't get that instruction. Some of the things that they passed down that were Danish, I cherish. I just cherish to this day. It's like, I love this stuff. I do remember my granny and papa. Those are my dad's parents. But my mom's parents didn't live in the same city with us. My mom's dad lived in British Columbia, a different province, and my mom's mom actually lived in Washington. They moved from Denmark to Canada before she was born, and they stayed. And then when my dad was 4, his parents moved from Denmark. My grandpa, he's kind of famous for wrestling with brown bears. He was a big Danish guy, right? In his youth, not when he was already old, so. But he had in Vancouver, before he retired into the interior of British Columbia, he had a store that repaired things like toasters and irons, and it was back in the time when people had things repaired, and that's what he did. And his wife, they'd gotten divorced when my mom was like a teenager, I think. So I don't know what she did as a younger woman, or if she did anything. Probably not. Knowing my grandfather, she didn't. He was very. And then my dad's parents were farmers. Yeah, I liked this grandpa that fought the bears, because he would make me show him my fingernails all the time, and then he'd give me a dime for every one that was clean. Just silly things. Okay, so I liked him a lot. Now I went to Denmark with him to visit his sisters and brothers and stuff. My grandma, they were both kind of like not my cup of tea. So yeah, they were just. No, I think my mom stepped out on my dad once, but I've got no proof on that. And couples go through shit. My grandpa, I guess he drank a lot. I think it comes in the family. And I think he might have been an abuser. I think he might have thrown the kids, like he had 4 kids and a wife, and I think he might have thrown them around. I don't have proof. I think I got a whole bag full of them. Makes up for the rest of the family, and I don't want to say, there's a meme that I really like. It says, the white sheep, I'm definitely the black sheep, but the white sheep aren't so white as they pretend to be. I've always followed my love, I want to dance, I want to work with animals, I want to perform. That's kind of what I do. So I don't really work for other people. I never really have for any length of time. So I'm not going to quit my working with animals or performing or creating stuff. I mean, it's just what I do, and I'm not working for somebody, so it's like, why would I stop doing what I like? I just love being creative. My son put me on one of his tracks, the rap song, and he's making me another tape for me to rap on for my birthday. And we paint together. We did like 6 months busking at Balboa Park together. I'm writing my final edit on a feature film that's set in Denmark about a Viking vampire who's a musician. Wonder who that could be. Oh, it's my son. I wrote the part for him. So I'm in it too. So it's like, I don't see me stopping being, I picked up the accordion during the pandemic, and I've been teaching myself that. And it's like, life is just a way to let it out. Whatever's going on, there's a creative way to do it. So I'm working with a producer on this feature film, and I'm so excited about it. That it's okay to take care of myself. If you fall down and you scratch your knee, wash it. Clean it up. You don't have to be the tough person. Take care of yourself. No, I'm okay. I'm good. And I didn't allow the hurt to come up. Now it's what I would advise myself. Feel that. Just do it. Be kind to yourself. Be a good parent to yourself. A lot of people have, and a lot of people haven't. I mean, it's a mixed bag here in this world. I fell so in love when I was in Libya he was a Texan. His name was Harvey. And was I 15 or 16? And nothing ever came of it, but it lived with me for a long time. We had kind of made plans, but our parents were like, no. So it didn't work out. And with the advent of Facebook and Google, I've researched a lot of people that I used to know, and I found only a couple that are alive. Everybody died because of who I was associating with. It's a dangerous lifestyle. So most of the people that I was with are gone now. Well, we were both in Libya in the expatriate camp, which was our fathers worked in the oil. So we were always in Libya for vacations because he went away to boarding school too. So, I mean, it was a smallish community. But oh God, he was gorgeous. He was so gorgeous. Since I've gotten clean and sober, there's really been no men. There have, but nothing important. And during my drug life, it was not based on anything that I want. Mickey, really, it was based on, what can you give me? What can we fuck up together? That shit. So for anything that really was real, I have to go back till I was like, 15 or 13. And how mature are you at that age? So it's like, I may not have that. I just may not have an answer for that question. Probably getting over addictions. However, I've been a really good mom. I had no idea the challenge and that I would be able to step up And often it's reluctantly, but I've stepped up and it's like, wow, I'm impressed. My mom's jewelry, like different things that I got after she died. I went and I got all of her things, and we spent $5,000 to put her things that were in, most of it was like, but her jewelry, I just like, and I hardly ever wear it. I hardly ever wear it, but I went specially and picked out like things to wear for this because it's cherished. And I don't think I have anything else that I cherish. You. Honestly, Crystal, it's like I pick best friends and it's never reciprocated, but that's okay. It's just like in my mind, you're my best friend. I'm saying this like, yeah, you're my best friend. And I know I'm not your best friend, but you're my best friend. I don't have very many close people. So my best friend at the moment recently moved from San Diego to out like in the Midwest. He was a guy that we did like some events, you know, he came to the premiere of some of my things, and on New Year's Eve we'd go to like NA meetings together, you know, just he was a friend that, yeah, but he moved away, so. My son, like when he was a kid, oh God, I was so in love with him. Since his brain injury, he's changed. But every once in a while, we still connect on that level, and that is so sweet. You know, it's totally not related to my son, but my dad gave me a skidoo when I was young, a snowmobile. And I was like, what, 12, 11? Freedom! It was amazing because it was snow all the time. I was like, I've got this transportation, right? It was the best thing in the world. Um, I went back to school and I got degrees, and I'm a good mom. You know what? This just coming to me is like, if you leave it to me, I'm going to make a mess out of it. So no, I'm not changing anything. I'm good where I am now. This is good. I'm okay now. So I wouldn't want to have fucked that up along the way if I, you know, oh, I wish that had been, no, I'm not going to go there. I almost died when I was 6 months old. And I had an intussusception. They had to cut me open, and my bowels were tied. Yeah, and my mom says I just kind of laid there limp, and when I did have a poop, it was like red jello. So how it affected me, I think that was my first separation, and it was a big one because of that year that I told you about. But I don't remember that. When you read those memes about playing outside, it's like when I'm sitting in the house with my son and I went on a date with a guy and he's like, I'm like, what? human connection has always been a hard thing, but it's even worse now. I mean, and then the pandemic is like, now we've even gotten used to being like on the phone and everything. So it's tough. It's tough. And artificial intelligence and people out for their own gain, like, you know, the conglomerates that are just more for me, less for the people who have nothing. And like, it wasn't like that. People were kinder and gentler. It's a thing with the younger people to say, look at the earth you left us. But I mean, we did good. We turned off the lights. We turned off the water. You know, we were good to the earth. We weren't abusive to each other. The money has become so corrupt that it's just so invasive. I've always been an environmentalist, and animals are my priority. If I could, I would do more for the animals than for people. Don't really have that love for people, but I do for the animals. That's why I went to school, to help animals. I'm just so disenamored with humans. Can't bring myself to do it. But there are people that are like, they are still have faith and believe, and I love them. I love people who still have that love. Mine's gone. But I have it for animals. That the world heals. I don't think we should move to Mars. I think we should like try to repair our damage to this earth, because it's beautiful. I just said it recently. Don't become me. Because he said to me after I said, people. And he said, yeah, Mom, I'm starting to feel. I said, don't be careful. Don't become me. Don't. The bitterness that has encroached on my humanity. That's what he was talking about. He was complaining about people. And that's like, I'm like, oh, I'm so discouraged when I see some people, and I just like, oh, people. And he said that, and I said, don't become me, because he said, I'm becoming you. I said, don't, because I don't want him to lose what I lost and become bitter. I'm getting kicked to the curb a number of times, letting myself be kicked to the curb, kicking myself to the curb, and then fighting my way back. Life can be really hard, and then you die. You look at the pandemic and how many people don't even put on a mask. I mean, come on, how hard is it to be a decent human? To wear a little piece of fabric over, you know, and people, yeah, repair the damage as you go, because it's keeping it here will destroy you. Just repair it as you go. Say I'm sorry. Make better. Do better. Don't just say sorry. Do something to change that, what made you sorry. I'm your grandma, and be kind to yourself. Not too kind, but be gentle. It's okay. If you need a nap, it's okay. If you need a hug, it's okay. Just be gentle with you and everything else.